everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to another session of our Day One and Beyond series, where we take you through various topics and activities related to building out on Oracle Cloud. Our today's session is the Oracle Cloud Database QuickStart, which will cover the different database services and tools available in Oracle Cloud and their key features. I like to introduce Borna and Sunil as the main presenters, and with that, I will hand it over to you, Borna.
Thank you, Olivia. Hello, everyone. My name is Borna Shamlu. I'm a cloud engineer with the customer enablement team, and for today's session, we'll be going over the database quick start. Without further ado, let's begin. Now, as far as what will be covered today, uh, we'll be going over an overview of all the different database services that we have available. So that includes the base database service, our Exadata database service, as well as the autonomous database service. Then I'll pass it over to Sunil, who will go over concepts of maximum availability architecture. So things like Oracle Active Data Guard and GoldenGate, give an overview of MySQL heatwave, and then we'll dive into the console for a quick little demo. Without further ado, let's begin. And also, by the end of this presentation, you should be able to describe autonomous database, how it's broken down into the data, autonomous data warehouse and autonomous transaction processing, as well as the key features for each of them, differentiating between Active Data Guard and Oracle Data Guard, differentiating between Exadata Cloud Service deployment models, also learning the different management interfaces that you have available, as well as different services, understanding disaster recovery situations and database backup options, as well as describing migration options using Oracle GoldenGate, and also touching on Oracle's MySQL database, as well as the zero data loss offering. Without further ado, let's begin. Now, here we have a graphic that helps break down the Oracle Cloud ecosystem, where OCI aims to offer as complete an experience as possible with a wide array of services that build upon one another, from, say, deployment options, as well as various services, including, say, developer services, database services, various storage options, operating systems available to you as well, machine learning, AI, things like containers and functions, clusters, compute options, and as well as various different tools that are available to you that help you tackle any workload within your that throughout your cloud endeavor. And as you can see from this graphic, our database offering provides a wide range of autonomy based on how much or even how little you wish for Oracle to manage things. So here down at the bottom, we have single node virtual machines as well as bare metal. To further moving further up, we have multi-node rack, standing for real application clusters, which adds for additional fault tolerance and as well as provisioning, patching, and automated backups that are still customer managed. And if you move further up, while still having things like data guard still available to you, which can be manually enabled, you'll still have Exadata for higher grade performance when you move further up, which is available on dedicated infrastructure. And then moving further up, you have Oracle Autonomous Database, which leverages the same Exadata architecture, but in an automated cloud configuration where things like patching, tuning, updates will be handled for you by OCI. And of course, all database operations can be done using APIs, CLIs, as well as the Cloud Console, which we'll be diving into later on. And here we have the Oracle's base database service. All right. Now, Oracle has geographic regions around the world with data centers in each of them, or as we like to call them, availability domains, which house Oracle's database services, whether that be, say, virtual machine or bare metal. This base database service is customer managed and can be configured and automated to your liking. Now, whether that be you only needing, say, a single node virtual machine or a two node virtual machine for increased fault tolerance, or even a dedicated bare metal architecture for having dedicated hardware for higher performance and storage, that's all definitely possible. We have various versions of Oracle database from our oldest being 12C. Moving further up, we have 19C, we have 21C, as well as 23C. And we also have our new 23 AI offering, which we'll go over a little bit later on here. But as you can see, we have various versions of Oracle database, different licensing options, and that's all available to you all around the world. And touching up on licensing, as far as licensing goes, you have the option of choosing between standard and enterprise. Standard covering typical workgroup settings, so things like web applications as well as department level workloads. Enterprise edition covers high volume transaction processing, so uh, this includes features like Active Data Guard, multi-tenancy options, Exadata, as well as RAC. You have two main options for licensing procurement, licensing included, as well as bringing your own license. So in the event that you already have a license from on-premise licensing, that this helps you avoid redundant billing. Oh, and here we have another graphic. So this helps to display the all the various things that can be automated within Oracle's database services. So whether customer or Oracle managed, our database service allows you to manage automated maintenance of your routine business operations from provisioning, security, patching, and with continued availability through recovery and backup measures. So things like RAC or Active Data Guard. So in the event of a outage or an occurrence, you're covered and protected, and you have many day-to-day operations that are automated and handled for you when using Oracle's database services. Now then, moving on to Exadata. Now, as far as what Exadata is, Exadata is Oracle's flagship database architecture, offering extreme performance, elastic scalability, and availability without the need for manual configuration. Now, as far as how Exadata can be run, well, Exadata can be run at essentially anywhere. Exadata can be leveraged any way how you'd like it. If you wanted to run on premise, say in your own data center for you to manage, or use in conjunction with your on-premise data center, but have it be Oracle managed, or if you'd like it to be used solely in the public cloud along with other services, or used alongside another cloud provider services, that's still all possible with Exadata. So if you like it on premise, you like it in a hybrid cloud setting in the public cloud, or in a multi-cloud configuration with, say, another cloud provider, that's definitely all possible with Oracle Exadata. And if you like to ever migrate to another configuration, then zero downtime migration is still possible. Now, as mentioned before, Exadata offers extreme elastic scalability, allowing you to utilize the compute and storage capacity that you need. Exadata is capable of dynamically scaling up or down to match your workload's demand, and thus you're only built for what you need. So in turn, Exadata is both performance and cost effective. So you have different compute options available to you, and you can use just as little or how as much that or how however as much that you need, and expansion for whatever capacity that you need for every workload. This happens fully online for you. Now touching on Exadata Cloud. Now here we have a graphic that truly illustrates the complete enterprise-grade performance that you're promised with Oracle Exadata. So from things like dynamic scalability, availability, performance, and durability, it's possible. For instance, you have things like multi-tenancy to meet scale. You have in-memory columnar database capabilities to run queries at the billions per second, or billions per core. You have active data guard for assured disaster recovery, and even analytics services such as spatial and graph for large data models. You have various other services that are highlighted here. So you have replication testing, advanced compression, partitioning, replication clusters, um, and of course, and memory fault tolerance as well. And all this is all as you can see from all of this, XA is a very capable architecture. And touching on Oracle Autonomous Database on Exadata for Cloud at Customer, What this does is it combines all the benefits having Exadata architecture and customer data centers with the simplicity of an autonomous database cloud service. Now, what it does is it helps organizations meet strict data residency and security requirements. It helps eliminate many manual database and infrastructure management tasks, as well as support mission critical on-premise applications with the benefit of high Exadata performance. And also by coupling efficient resource utilization based on real-time workload requirements with pay-per-use subscription pricing and reduce database management, thus allowing organizations to lower operational costs by, in some cases, up to 90%. And of course, here we have multiple options for leveraging XA architecture in cloud, depending on what level of autonomy. For a more hands-off, automated approach, autonomous database it's wholly managed by Oracle, and you're only billed for what you use. And here we also have Exadata database, which allows you to uh, have a more hands-on approach with Oracle, only managing the infrastructure itself. So here we have a bit of a differentiation of what the Exadata architecture can be used in what setting. So we can use the autonomous database as well as just the Exadata database service. So based on what kind of approach you like to have in terms to what gets automated and what you like to handle yourself. But with the added benefit, if you like to use autonomous database, you have additional services available to you as highlighted down here with things like JSON as well as transaction processing and data warehouse that you wouldn't get just on the Exadata database service. And of course, as mentioned with autonomous database, we can dive a little bit deeper into what that is exactly. So as previously touched on, autonomous database runs on Oracle's Exadata architecture in both an Oracle fully managed cloud setting or even on-premise. Uh, Autonomous isn't just a fun name. Oracle Autonomous Database truly automates most of traditional DBA tasks and responsibilities and supports converged database applications. Uh, ADB, Autonomous Database for short, helps to uh, automate patching, security updates, dynamically scaling CPU and storage to your needs, and includes disaster recovery measures such as backup and failover to minimize downtime as well as minimizing data loss and continuing business operations. All in all, autonomous database makes things easier to manage. Now, to clarify, both can be ran on the same infrastructure, as well as both in public cloud or in customer data centers. The only exception being that autonomous database serverless is the only option that's only available within the OCI public cloud. And as mentioned before, Autonomous Database offers an additional range of services that aren't available if you were to only use Exadata database service. So as highlighted here on this slide, we have here in the upper left quadrant, we have a autonomous data warehouse. This is great for large scale analytic workloads with the advantage of in-memory columnar format, giving functionality that meets the needs of any data scientist or business analyst. And here in the bottom left quadrant, we have uh, autonomous transaction processing for running transactional, analytical, and batch workloads concurrently at any scale. To accelerate performance, it's pre-configured for row format, indices, and data caching while providing scalability, availability, transparent security, and real-time operational analytics and mixed workloads. And here in the bottom right quadrant, we have autonomous JSON database. Uh, what this is a cloud document database service that makes it simple to develop JSON-centric applications. It features a NoSQL style document API, so things like Oracle SODA and Oracle Autonomous API for MongoDB, as well as serverless scaling and high performance ACID transactions. In the upper right quadrant, we have Apex, which is shorthand for Application Express. What this is a low-code development platform that allows you to create custom applications running on top of the autonomous database. And also, autonomous database supports both graph and machine learning workloads. And to reiterate, autonomous database is meant to be both straightforward and, of course, reliable from performance to billing, thanks to machine learning and the pay-per-use billing model to help min-max your performance over cost. Maintenance is made easy to set up and is already handled without any concern, all the while ensuring it is up to date, secure, and consistent as possible of an enterprise service.
And before Borna moves on, actually, I wanted to interject a quick comment on all of the databases we've looked at. So right now we've looked at the Oracle-based database, we've looked at Oracle Exadata, and we've looked at the Oracle Autonomous Database. And in the Autonomous Database and in Exadata, there's a lot of talk about machine learning, automation, and things the database can do for you, which would make a lot of sense as they're all managed services. But that is not to diminish, the quality or the functionality of the Oracle-based database service. And where, for instance, an example I like to use a lot is auto-scaling. If you want to create an auto-scaling policy on the autonomous database, you can do that in the console. You can do it programmatically, however you would like. And what you'll do is you will take your different compute what's called like database nodes or whatever you're looking to auto scale, and you will assign an auto scaling policy to them based on some metric, whether that's CPU utilization, which usually it is going to be CPU utilization for auto scaling. You'll have it scale up and scale down. And if you're using tuning packs or you have some way that you're analyzing your data on when you are getting lower performance based on your CPU utilization, you can take those numbers and put them into a auto scaling policy, and you can create something for yourself that mirrors the functionality of some aspects of the autonomous database. Now, some of the things with like, in database memory and some things at hardware level are things that are going to be more difficult to replicate. But for all of the software stuff, you have the ability to create a lot of it by hand. It's just when looking at your different database workloads, you kind of have to ask yourself, what sort of people do I have working and what sort of time do they have? And how am I going to prioritize using my time versus using a service that will help me accelerate my business development? Back to you, Borna.
Well said, Suno. Uh, Services. Now, touching on autonomous database services, as mentioned before, Oracle manages many quality of life measures from routine updating to and patching to things like autoscaling, as you know, touched on. Serverless deployment is the most hands-off, straight to the point approach for provisioning autonomous database. But if there are factors that call for a more customized deployment, to clarify, there is also dedicated deployment, which is an option for dedicated hardware. And as previously stated, dedicated is an option for Exadata Cloud customers as well. So here we have serverless. So just you pick your data's compute, storage, and region. So very straightforward deployment options. And for dedicated, a little more isolated, but also a little more custom. You can choose your custom policies as well for added customization, for added governance, and just for specific oversight that you'd like to have. So you have various options available to you when it comes to deploying your autonomous database. And touching a little bit more on Oracle Apex, as mentioned before, it's a low-code development platform that leverages autonomous database services. With Apex, you can deploy enterprise applications, web applications quickly while still taking advantage of autonomous database attributes such as security, availability, and cost effectiveness. So when you provision your autonomous database and you open Apex, you're met with a suite of various tools available to you. So you have the application builder to go in and build your application from the ground up. You also can leverage SQL when developing your web application, and App Gallery is a predisposed temp gallery of templates of various web applications that have been pre-configured. So if you want to have a semi-scratch approach instead of building from scratch, then that's also possible to you as well. Of course, REST APIs are possible as well with Apex, and you can load your data as well into Apex as well, and monitoring services are also available to you. But at the end of the day, you're able to develop applications much faster with Apex than you would if you were doing the more traditional approach. And this all leverages the autonomous database. And then touching on Oracle 23 AI, as mentioned before. Now, as mentioned before, Oracle database previously went up to the latest version being 23C, but with 23 AI being a slightly more updated version, we have several key additional features, including SQL firewall. This adds an added layer of security at the database level where you can audit SQL statements and choose if you want certain statements to be able to run, if not. You have AI vector search, enabling you to run AI-powered similarity searches within your database without the need for additional services or data migration. And of course, you have JSON relational duality. This just means that data can be read or updated in both relational tables as well as with JSON documents. And of course, moving on to maximum availability architecture, and I'll pass it over to Sunil.
Born to lift off, let's take a look at maximum availability architecture. So the primary tools we're going to be looking at are going to be Oracle GoldenGate and Oracle DataGuard. And after these two, we'll also take a quick look at MySQL availability on Oracle. And then we'll move into a brief demonstration in the cloud. So here we have our high availability blueprint, which has a little peek at both of the services with some of the stuff on the data recovery of GoldenGate and a little architecture diagram of DataGuard. So first thing I'll highlight is we see here DataGuard is a redo transport. So under the hood, what DataGuard is doing is it's taking your redo logs and it is copying them from your primary location to a secondary region, whether this is during a switchover or a failover. And so when you have data guard, you have two different flavors. You have active data guard and passive data guard. With active data guard, this is going to create an active configuration. That means you're going to have a read-only standby database in comparison to something that's completely immutable. And some advantages to being able to switch over, the really common one is something called a rolling database upgrade. And so what that is going to be is it's going to allow you to move data to and from your primary and secondary site over and over again. And an example that I use is Java virtual machine patching. So in the past, JVM patching is known to cause some lag. So let's say you have to run one of these patches and you're going to patch the secondary site first. After the patch is finished, you'll switch over between the primary and the secondary site. Your end users are now going to the secondary site. You'll patch the primary site while they're going to the secondary site, your end users, and both sites will be patched, and your end users will be none the wiser to any of the lag. So with regular data guard, which is going to be an active passive configuration, you're going to fail over from your primary site to your secondary site. The connection between those two sites is going to be cut. You can reconnect them later if you would like, but it is a one-time thing and then it's failed over. Some other reasons you can use data guard are going to be if you want to do some small migrations, you can have a patch on the secondary site. You can fail over and then do whatever you would like to back up, get rid of, destroy the first environment. So some other interesting things about DataGuard is just a generally very powerful tool. It can replicate across ADs, across region. And on top of that, it's very flexible. So it's got an RTO of, basically zero and an RPO of minutes. And what it's doing is every time it receives a transaction, it is reading or processing the transaction, and it is going to take that transaction and eventually get it to the redo log cache or the buffer log cache. So as the transactions are being recorded, you actually have the different options for what you would like to do with DataGuard in terms of switchovers and failovers with the status of your in-flight transactions. So if you want to have a data replication or disaster recovery policy that is going to make sure every single in-flight transaction has been committed to the redo log cache, and then and only then do you want it to switch over because you want to prioritize instead of, time to getting up, you want to prioritize all of your transactions being committed, then you can have it fail over at that point in time. Or if you would like, you can choose a different mode, which is geared towards performance, in where the in-flight transactions are going to be still being buffered, but it's going to switch over beforehand. And then you'll have to recover the connections afterwards. But the tool itself is very flexible. It allows you to do different things depending on what you want it to do. And with the last bullet point, with automation for create, delete, switchover, failover, reinstate, there's going to be a full set of APIs, REST API library for this tool, so you can run the tool programmatically. There are both manual and automatic failovers and switchovers. So if, per your security team, they do want to have manual failovers, that's fine. You can have someone manually, execute the command, click the button in the UI, or you can have it done programmatically depending on what you want. So next, we're going to look at OCI GoldenGate. And for those who are familiar with on-prem GoldenGate, there are a couple of differences with OCI GoldenGate versus on-prem GoldenGate. On-prem GoldenGate is license-based for each individual database or data source that you have OCI GoldenGate installed on, whereas with OCI GoldenGate, this is going to be a environment where it's going to have some amount of OCPUs, which it'll scale up to 3x the base provisioning amount, depending on how much data you're pushing through it. And then it's going to be billed by OCPU usage. And so the advantages of it being cloud native is it's going to be automatically upgraded and patched for you, and then you're going to have the scalability with the auto scaling built in. So that way, as you're going to send like more and more data, you'll have some runway if your data environments grow, and you'll be built accordingly because it'll scale up and scale down to meet that. And for these differentiated use cases, the primary use case of GoldenGate is to be a data replication tool. And so we have, done what the tool has advertised and given you a lot of different data sources that you can replicate your data to and from. So here we have a small list of some of the different data providers. And so we see here we have, a lot of Oracle stuff. We have some other cloud stuff like Azure. Um, we have S3. We have some open source stuff like MongoDB, and really just a whole host of services off and on Oracle. Yeah. And these were just some of the most commonly used ones. There's actually many more data platforms that are supported. So here is a little bit more thorough list where we see, real-time sources and targets, real-time targets, bulk data transform sources and targets. So we have a couple more data sources here and a little bit more specificity into how they can be used with GoldenGate. But there's actually still even more than this. So if there's something that's a little niche that you're curious if it's supported by GoldenGate, definitely look into the documentation. And they have like an Excel spreadsheet matrix that you can query to see what's up. So for your last couple slides, just what the use cases are. You have on-prem to cloud, multi-region, SaaS to OCI, multi-cloud. With multi-cloud, this could be an OCI account to another OCI account. I know in the past I've worked with companies that like acquire other companies or create landing zones as consultants, and they've used GoldenGate as a way to quickly deploy stuff from one cloud accounts to another. You have streaming ingest, your data lakehouse ingest, enterprise data transformation, your big data capture, and your initial load or ways to automate your bulk loaders. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is because this tool can seem kind of similar to DataGuard, is that this is a tool that is going to be based on trail file based replication.
Oh, and Suno, to clarify, does GoldenGate only replicate the data itself, or does it also replicate the resources?
That's actually a great point. So with DataGuard, when you are doing a failover or a switchover, you're copying the entire database. You're copying the database structures, schemas, etc. And with Golden Gate, you are taking data and pushing it from one data source to another. Now, Golden Gate does have a lot of built-in transformation language and connectors to make sure that your data will fit the format of both the source and the target. But you are just copying over data. You're not copying over a database object. That's a great question. Thank you, Borna.
Anytime, Suno.
So to round it out, we will have a quick look at the MySQL offerings on Oracle Cloud. So here, two main things. We're going to take a look at the MySQL database systems, and then we'll take a look at heatwave. So for MySQL database systems, you have two ways to provision it: standalone, single MySQL database instance, and then the high availability, which is going to be a three-node MySQL database system cluster. And so some of the advantages with the high availability is going to be RTO of minutes, RPO of 0. And another thing we'll see is that the cluster can be spread apart through different availability domains. For those who are not familiar, availability domains are physically distinct data centers, usually ranging from around 50 to 100 kilometers apart from each other. So this is going to give you a physical layer of protection against a lot of disasters like, earthquakes, storms to some extent, and etc. So what it'll do is it'll spawn your databases in different ADs. If you are in a single AD region, which means there's only one data center in that region, there are some things called fault domains, which have um, uncorrelated data center resources. So maybe, ideally, if there's something that goes wrong in one quadrant of the data center, then there is a fault decorrelated area somewhere else in the data center that it will spread these different MySQL databases across. I would imagine, though, most people are in a multi-AD region because the large majority of OCR regions, over 80% of them, are multi-AD. So last but not least, we are going to go over heatwave. So for the MySQL heatwave overview, you're going to have transactions, real-time analytics. So this is going to be analytics workloads, transactions workloads, warehousing workloads, machine learning all in one database. And this is going to be running on InnoDB under the hood. We see here we have real-time analytics, improved security, and this plug-and-play application architecture. So you can have your applications work in place without any changes. You just have to plug in. And with MySQL heatwave, there's going to be a lot of technology and machine learning that's going to help you manage it. So there's going to be a heatwave node and a bunch of worker nodes. And every time any of these nodes are going to be experiencing performance degradation within a matter of seconds, the heatwave node is going to understand that, and it's going to recreate these worker nodes so they can continue to operate at maximum efficiency, which is very, very nice. The second thing is that heatwave scales to literally thousands of cores. On OCI, there are service limits in other forms of compute. So it takes time to get scale in other units. You'll need to write to support. But with heatwave, there is a really, really grand scale which you can work with out of the box. So when you think of heatwave, it's going to be one service, OLAP, OLTP. It's going to be very fast, and it's going to have a massive scale. So it is a very, very powerful tool to work with. And if you already work with MySQL, I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. So as a couple things to remember from this presentation, there are many different types of Oracle database options, all with different ranges of manageability and feature set. Choose one based on what you believe best suits your workloads. With AI and managed services, these are meant for high data agility and less upkeep. However, if you're using something that is a very simple use case and you don't think you're going to get a lot of use out of these features, then it might not be for your specific workload. Going from the second half, GoldenGate and DataGuard. These are two very powerful tools that can help you create, in the case of GoldenGate, complex data layouts that will allow you to utilize tools from many different providers and help prevent data silos. With DataGuard, this is going to help you keep your data highly available and very agile in case of a disaster or some sort of site failure. With Autonomous Database and some of the managed services, if you're interested in DataGuard, they can be enabled with just a couple of clicks through the console UI. So if it's something you're interested in, it's a powerful tool, very easy to set up. Definitely give it a look. So here we are in the console home, and we're going to go to our autonomous database. So here we have a always free database. And we see here, we've got some general information, disaster recovery. So if you are interested in trying out some of the features of the Oracle Autonomous Database, you can do so in an always free version. And the only things to remember is that a always free version is not going to automatically scale just because you get one node for free and then that one node does not scale up to multiple. The other thing is that with the autonomous data guard, you cannot use data guard on an always free version as well because you have your one always free database instance. However, if you do some work on your always free database and you want to upgrade, you can update your license and you can upgrade instance to paid. So If you do stuff that you think is worth keeping, you can also just keep it. So we see here, this one is 19C. However, we also did see that you can have the database version with 23 AI. So if you want to take advantage of some of the vector searching capabilities, or maybe SQL Firewall, which is going to help you with very granular controls to specific SQL statements, having allow controls for your allow list at a SQL statement level. And with your always free, you can choose 23 AI. There's no charge, 19C 23 AI. This is just a little bit of an old instance. There's actually another instance in this tenancy that is on 23 AI. So we see here, we can look at the Apex instance that it's attached to. We can work with our networking. Right now, access type is secure access from everywhere. However, if we wanted to create a IP allow list, oh my goodness, we would just click edit right here and choose to enable this. Then we would have a, typical IP firewall, same structure as your VCN security lists where you would add rules. For key management, you can have a managed key or you can choose to manage your own key and rotate your keys as you need to. And then here, we also have Performance Hub, database connection, and database actions. So we'll take a quick look at Performance Hub. We see here we have our different SQL sessions for our Ash Analytics. We have average activity sessions by SQL IDs, our different user sessions, etc. We can look at all of our different groups. We have SQL monitoring, which these are demo environments. When you look at your different SQL statements, there's going to be a lot more. But we can see what our top 100 by last active time were. We can see what the users who are using them were, and etc. So right now, for the time period, it doesn't even appear right here that we have any ADDM activity. Let's see if we have, choose a different time period and see if anything will pop up. No, but here is where you would run your ADDM monitoring. For workload-based monitoring, we have CPU statistics, wait time, workload sessions, which are all going to be monitored for you. And then last, you have blocking sessions. In database connection, this is going to be where you find your database wallet and connection string. And in database actions here. So here we have database actions. So recently visited, I've been working with SQL database users. So in development, we see SQL, data modeler. This is your REST library, Liquibase, JSON. You have access to Oracle charts, and all of this is free. This is a paid instance now, but all of these are free. Everything you see here is going to be on always free as well. So if anything looks like it's worth trying, you can try it. So here, JavaScript, this is also really cool with the Oracle Database Multilingual Engine, MLE. You can run JavaScript directly in the Oracle database. So you can manage MLE models, environments, and call your different specifications. You can even execute Java code. So very powerful feature. We see here in Data Studio, there's also Graph Studio. And in Data Studio, we can see here, we have data load, transforms, your data marketplace, table AI assist. This is going to be pretty simple, but what it's going to do is it's going to analyze your different tables and look for certain things. So this could be like if you have information it deems important, it'll say, hey, this might be private information. We see here extract year from hire date, extract month from hire date, rank salary by department, etc. So it's going to look for common altercations to the data set. For data analysis, this is going to be a tool that you can use for developing some analytic views. And lastly, you have data share. This is a tool for data sharing based on the open source Delta sharing protocol. So in development, let's quickly take a look at SQL. And we are currently logged in the admin, but this is just a demonstration. So we can see here we have different tools. We can look at our different tables. There's not going to be anything here. I'll quickly log out. And we see here now we have our different tables, employee, etc. We can see we have a live feed connection. What this is it's a connection to object storage that's going to keep feeding data into the database, etc.
And the PowerPoint that we covered today, we do have a few resources listed here, so I highly recommend exploring some of these. So we have some hands-on experience, some courses listed here, and all of that. And then also, I would like to point out that we have our Day One and Beyond series here, where it's more of one-to-many, covering a variety of different topics in OCI, but we also do have more personalized training, so more one-on-one. So with our personal training, it's a mixture of slides and demos. We also do have QuickShot Live Labs, so more hands-on experience. And then also along with this, we have Code Innovate. So it's a 5 half-day program where Oracle engineers will help you co-develop a use case. And then we listed our emails here if you like to reach out regarding these different programs. And then lastly, so we have our core series here, but we also do have a variety of different Day One and Beyond series. So we have series on analytics, hands-on, cloud native, security, did you know, and all of that. And then lastly, our next session, we'll be getting started on Oracle Apex. So we'll cover some key features, a demo on June 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So we hope to see you all then. Thanks, everyone.